Good morning from Sacred Space at Titania's Realm. I'm back again with the actual reading of Boadicea by Amanda Scott this time. Hopefully I won't drift off into any weird musings and segues, but you know, there were things that the spirit moved me that have to be said, and they're said now, and I'm done for the day, I hope. And we're up to part 2. A late spring, AD 60. Oh, the scrub turkeys are fighting each other and they're looking for food. I will have to go down and buy the food for them when I finish reading the stories, because I feel guilty watching them looking around and fussing. They have got probably plenty of food, so that it's not life-threatening for them, but you know, I just think it's not fair to spoil them with food and then not have it available for them. And I don't feed them every single day for that reason, that I don't want them to be too dependent. But Turkey's already been up by my front side window here to stare at me. Where's my food, Mama T? And they've already guilt-tripped me. And you know, food is life, food is comfort, food is joy. It's what festivals are all about, isn't it? Why we have these festive season. It's all about food and being with friends and family and lovers who adore us. And you know, my friends and family and lovers who adore me are all platonic and seem to be birds. That's the paradigm I find myself in. And you know what? I'm quite contented with that. It's peaceful. There's no rivalry or sexual competition or envy or spite or people faking liking you when actually deep down they hate your guts. Ugh. And there's no superficiality. There's no sadism. There's none of that. It's been the best Hanukkah Christmas season I think ever, although you know, I do miss my friend Jared. I do. I drive him crazy though, don't I, Kermie? I drive Uncle Jared a bit cray-cray. You singing and talking to Mama. Come on then. You want to go in the garden? You do? I think he wants to go in the garden. The sun's finally come out, Kermie, but it was a shitty, miserable morning so far. I'll read the stories to the people of Earth. I'll drive down and get extra food in because you're running low and the wild birds have run out. And then you can go in the garden when I come back. I think that'll be the plan, Stan. It's all good, little boys. Mama loves you very much. Yes, I do. Right, here we go. Chapter 15. The 9th Legion is destroyed. The serpent spear is awakened in the east. The Boadicea battles Rome, and the gods guide her hand. Freedom is there to be taken. Join us and be part of the taking. Just gonna heat up my tea, people of Earth. See, scattered energies. And I'm going to go and get my lovely Lübeck marzipan. So I'm going to nibble on yummy things while I read to you, because food is life, people of Earth. So is water. But I'll be back. I won't be long. Talk to the people of Earth while Mum was heating up her tea, boys. Tell them what good boys you've been. Hello. What are you doing? I forgot, I need to change their water. Gotta have fresh water, boys. Yes. I know. There we go. That's better, isn't it? Who wants to drink stale water from the day before? Yucky. Hello. Hello, my little baby. Right, I'm back. I'm going to settle down. When I eventually shuffle off this mortal coil at a time appointed by the gods, I'm going to miss this Lübecker marzipan pralines which come out from at Aldi every Christmas. I'm going to really miss that mouth sensation, and I'll miss cold water on a hot day. There's a few sensations I really will miss, but I guess as a spirit can probably manifest that sensation from memory or from thought alone. I don't know. They say you can, but I don't really know. I'll find out one day, won't I? Anyway, Mama T's not going anywhere. I'm not, much as sometimes I'd like to. Life's pretty bloody good. Pretty bloody good. That's so good. Hot tea and melt in your mouth marzipan. Right, let's get to the story. Word spread fast as fire, carried by traders who pushed their dray horses hard to be first at each steading with the news, and by youthful warriors with red quilled war feathers. Red quilled war feathers. Where did they get the red quills from? Must be from a particular bird. Newly woven into their hair, who ran barefoot for home with tales of their own successes and of the deaths in battle, always with honour of their shield mates, lovers, cousins and siblings. It's dreadful, isn't it? Well, we're in a different kind of battle now. It's a spiritual battle, and no respite, people of earth. Not even at Christmas or Boxing Day. No respite for the Mama T. I can only pray that God will be kind to me and will bring to me a true loving partner one day who can be a man to me, and I can lay down my sword and rest at last, knowing that someone finally has my back, my front and my sides, and will be a friend, a lover and a companion for the rest of our lives together as we get older. And it's a very scary thing, knowing that you're going to get old and die alone. But I'm okay with it if that's my fate, you know. But it's a very terrifying thought. And it's not fair either. I deserve to be loved as much as the next human on this planet. But it is what it is. The traders returned early from shorter journeys than they had planned, with goods in which they did not normally deal. They drove into the site of the horse fair with iron and salt and wool and hides and more iron, and took less than half their worth in gold or silver, or all of it in promises of corn to be paid when the battles were over. Not to be outdone. What are those people doing? Oh well, not my problem. Not to be outdone, the youths returned in their hundreds with other siblings, lovers, cousins, parents and friends, and promises of more to come when the spring planting was over, or perhaps before then. After all, who needed to plant corn when the granaries of Camulodunum, Caesaromagus, Canonium and Verulamium would soon be broken open, and the grain they held returned to those who had worked to harvest it, and yet starved for its lack through the cold winters under the heel of Rome? Others began to gather who were not of the Iceni, Corytani and Votadini from the west and north, Siluris and Ordovices from the west, Domnoni and Durotriges from the far southwestern toe of the land. Right, just had to put that in my mind. Let's go back to the map of Britannia, modern day Britain. Here it is. Here's the little toe that they came from. It's a funny looking island when you think about it. Sort of looks like I don't know, perhaps a squirrel or some small animal standing up on their tippy toes. Mama T and her imagination. By all the gods. Anyway. I'm going to have some more marzipan. Let's drink to that. A cup of tea and marzipan. Mama T's going to get fatter and fatter, and then she'll die. I'm okay with that. Actually, probably doing it quite deliberately, actually. These will be the last two. I've got a limit. I always say that, and you know what happens? I'll just have one more. I'll just have one more. That will be the last. And the next thing I know, I've devoured the whole packet. It only comes with 12, I think. 10 pieces. Oh, I've already eaten 5. 4. Easily done. My Auntie Lottie, who wasn't my actual biological aunt but a close childhood friend of my mother's, used to send us the biggest pieces of Lübeck marzipan, not like these little tiny broots, but in the shape of an angel or Father Christmas, and she would send that out every Christmas right up until I got married. Actually, when I was 19, she was still sending it to my mother, and my mother quite generously would save the marzipan and share it with me. She wasn't all bad, my mother. She had her good points. She was quite generous, but there was always a heavy price to be paid for her generosity in other ways. Extreme vicious narcissism and sadism. Anyway, that was then, this is now. I get to enjoy my marzipan with no strings attached, not indentured or indebted to any other mortal human being, just living my best life, motherfuckers. Oh, you have to laugh. The gift of old age. You overcome everything, and nothing really matters anymore. Not even the tricksters that played with your heart and thought they'd make you look like a fucking fool in front of a audience. You just laugh at them and think, you sad motherfucker. Is that all you've got going on in your life? Sad. Tragique. I laughed my ass off the last time I danced for him at Fridays. They played You Oughta Know and I ham acted to all the words in the song, which is what I always do. Wasn't actually having a dig at him. And he kind of knew that because he came and brought his guitar, stood right next to Paulie and played side by side with Paulie, looking at me, and I probably thought he would unhinge or upset me, but I just saw the funny side of it. It was fucking comedy. It was hilarious. But I left early because his other piece had got upset by that song. I don't have anything to feel guilty about. I haven't had an affair. So I just laughed my ass off at the whole fucking thing and left. But I remember standing at the river laughing, and then I thought, right, you're finally healing from this weird fucked up connection where you've been played for a gimp. And the following week when I was at the Koala Tavern, and he was mouthing the lines to no, he wasn't mouthing, he was acting out the song Killing Me Softly, with your song, which I had actually posted on my Instagram, and it wasn't even anything to do with him. It was just Spirit had said, put that up on your profile, and I happened to love that song because I was raised on Roberta Flack. So that dumb motherfucker thought that I was taking the piss at him on my Instagram, which I was not, and acted out that whole song to me at that gig. I was like, are you insane? You have to be seriously insane. So I rose above it for the entire gig, all his nastiness, and just ignored it, and then left at the end like I normally do after a night of wild, passionate, carefree, joyous, defiant mama tea dancing. which I'm a bit famous for now, even though 2 men at that gig told me that I was a horrible dancer and that I was ugly, and oh, they were all vicious that night. They all had a go, didn't they? All of them. All of them. All of them. But I rose above it, and then I decided I'm not going to support that band anymore. No antipathy to Paulie or Luke, you know. They're just what's the word? There's a word for that in a domestic violence situation. They're not enablers per se. And there was no domestic violence. It was just all invidious, emotional abuse. So, which happened out of left field actually, because of that fucking female that came to Fridays. Don't know what that was actually even about. Not my monkey, not my circus. There's a word for it. Ah yes, collateral damage. Anyway, I hope you've had a good Christmas, alter egos, and that you've been kind and honouring to each other. And the same goes for my much beloved Ramjack. I hope you've been kind and honouring to each other, and that you've had a lovely Christmas period, and peace out. Right. Every now and then you get a real taste of the almond paste, and it's just like, Warriors came whose tribes had been enemies for generations, and learned in days not only to share each other's fires, but to share food and exercise and the teachings of war, with a half wing of Batavian cavalry. I'm really savouring that. A few shared all these things with the Boadicea's half-Roman brother. Those who could not stomach it chose to train only with her bright-haired son. Daniel Craig, I'm still shocked at that dream. I have a feeling I've dreamt that dream before, by the way. It felt like a repetitive dream. But the emotions were just kind of lovely. The support and the encouragement and the genuine care. Just sweet. Efforts were made by those whose business it was to oversee such things to ensure that the war host did not become divided so early in the conflict. They were not wholly successful. Other matters arose of greater moment. Rumours began of a second assault by the 9th Legion. Very quickly, those who were most competent were dispatched to guard the trackways north and west. These killed 8 messengers within 2 days, all of whom bore pleas for urgent help from Petilius Cerialis, to the governor of all Britannia. After the head of the 8th man to die was returned in the saddle packs of his horse, no others were sent. No avenging cohorts marched south either. Once it seemed as if a war party of Batavians was going to assault the war host, but the latter's luck held, and there were Batavians guarding the road that day who recognised their former comrades and persuaded them to listen to their petition. And so the host gained another 100 cavalry who preferred to fight for Civilis against Rome than for Hengist in the name of the emperor. Add it up, add it up, add it up. It's all adding up, people of Earth. Lessons will be repeated until they are learned. Indeed. Pattern recognition. The rumours changed and said that Petilius Curialis, the legate of the 9th, had withdrawn to his winter quarters and sat watching the sea rise and fall with the tides. In time they said that he had dismissed the Iberian stonemason, but not until the foundations of the baths had been thoroughly waterlogged. 5 or 6 days after the burning of the watchtowers, a trickle of incomers began to arrive from the south, from the city of Camulodunum. First in ones and twos, and then in handfuls, poorly armed and nervous. Men and women of the Trinovanti walked and rode up to the side of the Iceni horse fair where the war host was missing. I'm getting blurred vision. I'm too close to this bloody book, people of Earth. Jesus. Not Jesus, but you know what I mean. Oh, boys, the weather's clouding over. I was going to put you out after this story. The weather's unreliable today, my boys. They came first as refugees, fearing the attack. I haven't worn this pendant for a long time. I made it, but I haven't really worn it much. They came first as refugees, fearing the attack that was so plainly coming, driving wagons, carrying sacks with live chickens, herding cattle. Only later did they dare to offer themselves in war. When they did, there were 2,000 of them, and they took to battle training faster than those who had not lived as closely in the shadow of Rome. Before the month's end, all those who had fallen had been replaced, and the number of the war host was once more at 5,000. By the first quarter of the next moon, it had grown by half as much again. And not one of those who arrived bore any news of the Boadicea's younger daughter, although all had heard of her journey to Mona. A child and 3 warriors, it seemed, had passed through the land unseen. The Corytani were ready to praise the scouting skills of Hawk, who could hide himself in a black cloak on a snowfield and could easily conceal 3 adults and a child. Others noted that Dubornos and Gunavar had both trained on Mona, and that either was completely capable of remaining hidden if they did not choose to be seen. No one spoke openly or in quiet of the other alternative, which is that all 4 were dead. The war host was divided by those who had responsibility for their training. 2,000 of the most able warriors were left with Civilis and his Batavians to keep watch on the routes by which the 9th Legion might yet decide to attack. The Boadicea, mounted on a bay colt that was a gift from her daughter, led the remaining host south towards the place once named sacred to the war god Kamul, later Cunobelin's Dun, and most lately Camulodunum, Rome's capital city in the province of Britannia, which I'll remind you was actually Colchester, not London, which is interesting. I always thought London was the traditional capital city. I wonder when London became the capital city, maybe with the Norman conquest. I'm not sure, I'm just surmising, I don't know that for a fact, people of Earth. Must have happened sometime in that history though. Over 5,000 warriors made camp in the valley of the Heron's Foot. Maybe we could Google it later, find out when London became the capital city. Just so we know, it's important to know these things. Where were we? Right. Scattered energies and flying everywhere, all over the place, people of Earth. I'm actually quite tired too. I'm doing okay for an old bag, aren't I? Cleaving to my truth, staying in this body and living my best life. Over 5,000 warriors made camp in the valley of the Heron's Foot, at the place where 3 rivers join to become one, where in the days before Rome's invasion the boundaries of Iceni, Trinovanti and Catuvelauni, we'll go with that, lands had joined. I know, it's scary. At least I try though. Leaving the valley owned someone behind me, but almost hovering above me, just clapped their hands and burst out laughing. Friends, Romans and countrymen, lend me your ear. Not literally, you understand. Keep your ears firmly attached to your head for as long as you can. Keep your head attached to your neck as long as you can. They screamed out, "Off with your head!" Oh, all right, whatever. Leaving the valley owned equally by all 3 tribes and thus by none, which made it the province of the gods, where nevertheless a party of Iceni, you are loved, they just yelled out. Thank you, spirits. Doesn't feel like that most of the time, but occasionally I get to spend time with people who love me. Where nevertheless a party of Iceni had been attacked on the valley's sacred soil and seen nearly half their number slain, including a Burovic father, or it could be a Burovich too. A father to the Boadicea, who was cut down defending his daughter. A real father who defends his daughter, unlike the fucking arseholes I had in my family of origin. All of them useless, feckless, paedophile enabling curs. A curse on them till my dying day. Including also Bum. You see, if I'd had real fathers like Boadicea, might have actually grown up to be Boadicea, or the equivalent. A woman who has a father who defends her and is proud of her and her femaleness and respects her body, mind and spirit. That's her real father. May you all be blessed to have one like that, dear goddess. And take lovers who are real men that are proud and happy to stand by your side. Can't be turned because some other bit of pussy floats by. Oh, it's ugly, isn't it? It's ugly, but it's also a bit hilarious. I mean, I reached the point where it just became comedy. And also the fact that it wasn't my first rodeo. I've been treated like that a multitude of times in my lifetime. I was hoping that that person might have been different, but alas, no. But, you know, we mustn't feed the trolls who think that I'm fixated, because I'm not. Just saying it how it really is and was. Fuck off. Anyway, where were we? Yes, who was cut down defending his daughter, including also Bun, her younger daughter, whose body was stolen from the battlefield, so that she believed him dead and mourned him as much for nearly 20 years. Where, for the first time since Tagos died, leaving the world open for rebellion, Briaka took time alone for herself and bathed. The heron stood at a widening of the river where still waters gathered. An easterly breeze ruffled its reflection. Small fish kissed the surface around it and were ignored. I'm going to pause there. Every time I read about the heron, I keep being reminded. I might actually do that today. I've got to buy the special glue. I'll just get it down one moment. My beautiful Kermie boy, who, you know, it's not his fault. He doesn't know the value of things, and, you know, he was fairly frightened and fairly new to sacred space. But he knocked down my beautiful, it was my mother's, I inherited it. And I always loved it, even as an adolescent when she bought it. But he knocked down my mother's beautiful hand-carved, I don't think these are are they herons or egrets? Probably egrets, which are very symbolic in Chinese mythology. But he smashed it down. So I kept this because I'm going to carefully cut around the ones that are still in one piece. And I'm nervous, as you can hear the trepidation in my voice. have some ebony left, and I'm going to inlay it into the ebony and turn them into pendants. I think they'll be too heavy to wear as earrings given the size of them. But I've been wanting to do that since he smashed it 6 months ago, and I got sidetracked with other projects. I want to cry looking at it still when I look at it. I'm so upset. Maybe I'll be able to afford to source and buy another beautiful carved mother of pearl one day, but not very likely. So I'll make use of what I have left of it. So here I've carefully wrapped them in paper, and that could also be cut apart and recycled into inlaid in wood, although it's really just the blossoms that are probably of any use there. I could use it and glue it together, but it's not the same. You glue things together, they're never the same. Unless you can kintsugi, but I don't think you can kintsugi with shell. That's only for porcelain. But you see, I was so distressed. And you know what? They're just things. People, not things, people of earth. But I fought hard. I was tortured for 2.5, literally tortured in a real dispute. And all I won were these few beautiful things. So when they break and I lose them completely, it's just symbolic of another battle that was a waste of time and energy. Didn't even get me my rightful inheritance or my home. But look how beautiful they are. I can transmute some of those birds and put them into the ebony, and somehow, I don't know how, because see, the shell is concave, so they're not completely flat, and when I inlay, I have to inlay it into completely flat timber. So I'm going to have a great deal of difficulty getting the dimensions and right so that they can curve into the timber and actually sit right. Dear Goddess, I don't even know if I can do it, but every time I read the word heron, 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 it's like a neon sign going, use those birds up that you preserved, use those birds, make them into something, like at me and at me and at me, and I'm like, okay, I always intended to do it, but I chickened out. So maybe it's reminding me that the time is nigh that I make something with those lovely birds. And I can get the glue. The glue's very expensive. It's you've got to buy, what's it called? I've forgotten the name of it. It's like a very expensive super glue, and then you've got to buy another thing that's an accelerator, and just those 2 bottles, and they're only tiny, are like $50 fucking, and they don't go very far. I used it when I used it when I did the inlay on my cabinet I showed you the other day. Anyway, this is a constant kind of flashing neon sign to get on with that, get on with the program and make that happen. You see, so there's a reason why I'm reading this book, why I chose to read this book first of all the books that I bought in Lifeline. Chose it first because it's a kick up my ass to remind me to make something with those. Here's oh, it's got feather dander all over it. By the gods. Here's another sweet little box I bought for $10, but it was all broken, and one of the knobs was missing, so I made another knob. You can tell that I made it because it's it's way bigger. Oh, so I must have made two. Yeah, they're way bigger and they're not exactly conforming, but you know, I don't have a wood lathe, and I just made it up as I went along just to make it happen. But anyway, I made two more little knobs, and then I glued on the knobs some little PowerShell dots that were left over from inlaying my cabinet, just to add extra room and opulence. And the inlay here was perfect. Look how beautiful it is. So you can see what I'm talking about, that I'm going to try and do with those egrets or herons. Look how gorgeous, how it catches the light. Anyway, I had it lying on my bookshelf with, you know, with all my box collection of boxes, and I've been looking at buying this artist drawers that pull out, and 10 drawers on Amazon. It's by Meeden is the brand. They're for art supplies, but I was going to convert it into holding my stones that I want to, you know, set in silversmithing. And I'd been hyper focused and fixated, to use that word that was thrown in my face recently, not necessarily maliciously, but it's a form of acting out. She does at Christmas. It's the second year in a row. I have observed it. I'm not stupid. I forgot to put that in my mother of pearl. I'll do that forthwith. Anyway, you know, I'm very fond of that young woman, actually, very fond of her. So there's no real antipathy. It's just, you know. Oops, I just dropped all the stones. That's the only thing, is the drawers slip out really quickly. Right, how many fell on the floor? None. Anyway, I'm segueing. So I put my stones that I bought a couple of years ago. That's why I haven't bought any more. I get badgered by sellers on Instagram wanting me to buy more stones, but I don't need to. I've got plenty to work with. I just can't always afford the silver, so that's why there's been a long pause in creating things, is sterling silver is expensive, and it's gone up a lot in recent months. So let me just show you. But I hit on the idea. I thought, instead of buying a new box for $109 to store the stones, which I'm still considering it, you know, because they're much narrower drawers and they all slide out. But I thought, why spend more money, Tanya Aarons, when you've got this beautiful box that you renovated? Use it or lose it, am I right? So what I did was, can you see? Don't want to drop them again. I put this one is all my Labradorite stones I bought a couple of years ago. They weren't very expensive, and the man that's selling them was badgering me to buy more, but I really couldn't afford it, you know. And I said to him, I will buy more when I've made something from all the stones I've already bought. And as you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I still have 10 stones to turn into something. Oh, plus 11, because there's a piece of moonstone that's waiting to be transmuted too, that I did start working on a pendant for it. I just show, this is what I do from time to time when I'm not fixated on other people who are a waste of my energy anyway, because they were disingenuous from the very beginning. Only I didn't realise that. I got groomed and lured in. But anyway, there you go. I'm making that, and that is the stone that will go in it. So that's one of the moonstones I bought when I bought the Labradorite. I had 2 other moonstones. Jared's got a pendant made with one, and Crystal's got a pendant made from the other. No, 3, because I'm wearing this one as well. So I made the moonstones, most of them, into something, and this one I hesitated because it's got a very big crack. You can just see it there. So I worry that when I try and set it, it will smash apart, as stones do when they've got cracks in them. So anyway, that has to all be soldered down, and it's a work in progress. But I'm looking forward to doing it. I need to buy more oxygen for my bottle, for my little Smith torch, so I may have just enough, but I may not. But anyway, that's another $70 for the oxygen. And so things happen very slowly at Sacred Space when I can afford things, and not before, because I don't like to go too much into debt and get myself in the shit and then not be able to, get myself out of it. This one is a lovely stone that my friend Belinda gave me last week, malachite, and then I put next to it a tiger eye stone that I bought many years ago. It's funny, I bought these stones and had no intention or idea that I would even eventually do silversmithing, but that's going to make a lovely pendant one day, and so will this one that Belinda gave me. It's a massive big pendant, so it will take up a lot of silver to make. It'll be an expensive pendant when that's finished. And then I put these little things in this lower drawer. That was just a piece of basalt we found up at the Springbrook in a little creek Jared took me to, and I polished it up, and I'm gonna, set that in a ring one day. And this is a piece of Hubai turquoise that I bought also a couple of years ago. You see, I was slowly buying little bits and pieces in anticipation that I would be in full-blown production one day, but the thing is, being able to afford the silver is the block, and or the gold. So I bought that at the same time frame that I bought the Hubai turquoise, but this is Persian turquoise. It's just beautiful. So, so what I was doing was I was buying from this lovely lady, Megan from Gemsprite, but she's given up dealing in stones because she's gone back to university. But I used to buy the occasional stone from her that piqued my interest, and so I had that. The other stone I bought from her's in my calf, that little square cubed Persian turquoise. So I was pleased that I finally made something from the lovely things I bought from her. So yes, I could, if I was clever, inlay the little egrets into a little wooden box too, but I'm thinking I'll just set them in the ebony, which is a soft timber to work with, and turn them into pendants. I mean, how many boxes does one woman need? But yes, that lovely little box, I bought it, you know, as I said, for $10, but it needed a lot of renovation. But, you know, it's come up a treat, hasn't it? I did all that all through the COVID years when everyone was running around with their heads half cut off going, we're going to die, we're going to die. I'm like, I don't fucking care. I'm busy creating things and renovating beautiful things and inlaying into that cabinet I got for free. I just was so busy. I didn't have time to worry about dying. And as I used to say, we all die when the gods decree, not a moment before, not a moment later. So fucking get over yourselves. I have to remind myself of that too when I get maudlin from time to time. Anyway, we continue on with the story. The heron stood at a widening of the river where still waters gathered. An easterly breeze ruffled its reflection. Small fish kissed the surface around it and were ignored. Oh, poor little fishes. It blinked slowly. Briaka lay on her back in the flowing cold and let her hair stream into the weed and watched her own reflection vanish and appear again in the arc of its eye. Thank you, Spirit, but no, they're yelling at me to go dancing tonight. They said, fuck 'em. If they can't take a joke, just turn up and strut your stuff, Mama T. But I just don't want to. You know, it's not nice how I'm treated at this time of year. No, I'm just going to rest, I think. Take a break and rest. And those who truly love me will let me know in no uncertain terms. No games, no artifice, no venality or cruelties. They'll let me know that I'm cherished and valued and adored. Oh, it's sweet, isn't it? Never mind. I shared a video from the last gig I went to and of Juddy performing. Maybe that pissed them off. Who knows? They don't communicate with me about what it is I've actually done wrong in their eyes, but I didn't see anything wrong with sharing a video of him performing and all of them performing and me geeing them up and geeing up the crowd as I do. It's there's nothing harmful in that at all. But, you know, sometimes whatever I do, just by fucking breathing, offends someone. So, fuck off. Seriously, you know. But I think there's a bit of insecurity and envy at play, and I'm not buying into that bullshit. I'm not part of that world. It's not my world. I live in my world and Titania's realm, and the gods send me on my little missions. It's for the gods' edifice, not for humans' edifices, and if they don't like my existence, too bloody bad. I exist with or without you. A shadow slid up her body and blocked the weak spring sun from her face. Without moving, she said, Luann McCalmer always seems to be more heron than man. Has he sent this one to us, do you think? Possibly. I would prefer to think he would send a flesh and blood messenger if he needed to pass a message urgently to any of us, but I would never be sure. Ermid stood on the bank, her hands reached from the bird, which did not move. She was tall as the elder of Mona and as lean, but there was nothing of the heron in her. Increasingly, since the procurator's attack, there was less of the frog that was her dream, and more of Namain, daughter to Briga, god of water and of the moon and of healing and dreams and all that had been lost to Granny. I'm assuming Grima ended up being Saint Bridget in Catholic lore. I wonder if they're one and the same or if they're related to each other. I'm trying to remember if that's correct or not. I had a Irish Catholic friend who was born in Dublin, which is where my father's ancestors came from, on his father's side. And every time I'd say that the name, Saint Bridget, or what was the name now? She'd cross herself. Now, why are you crossing herself? She's an ancient pagan goddess. She's the forerunner of your religion. She's who that saint is named after. We don't say her name, we don't say her name. She was utterly bloody terrified. I was astonished, really astonished. It's amazing how you can be taught to fear the old gods. You're nothing without the old gods, people of Earth. And I'm saying that as a Jew, by the way. Yes, we worship the One, the Holy One. But everything is connected and everything belongs in the mosaic of the multiverse, people of Earth. The I and the Thou, source field energy, multitudes of emanations of its imaginings, its creations. That's how I like to look at it anyway. I don't fear the old gods. I honour and respect them though, but there's nothing to fear unless you desecrate their holy places or do evil to others in their name. Then you might have a lot to be afraid of. When she thought of the god, now Briaca thought of Ermid. The two had become inseparable. That, amongst other things, accounted for the new distance between them. The dreamer came closer and sat down on the soft earth. Pulling a stem of grass to chew, she said, if he needed to send a message about Granny, he would surely use something more certain, but he has no need of that yet. Word has come from Dulbornos and Hawk, sent with a salt trader. Granny and those who went with her are safe. Granny, safe. It's a very evil thing to promise a woman safety and then rip it away from her, motherfuckers. You know who I'm talking to. You, specifically. No. But let go, let the gods decide what is our true destinies and how things will fall into a new way of being and a new rhythm and a new patterning. Hopefully we can break the old tapes that keep us trapped in a hellscape of epic proportions, of which the gods would not let me leave this place and this space, and keep bringing me recycling souls of enmity and putrescence. Yes, I'm well aware on both sides of that spectrum. My relationship with the gods, who keep me here, often against my will, and my relationship with human men and their henchwomen, who repeat patterns over and over again, expecting different results, expecting the mumity to be in denial and go along with it. Hell no, I won't go. The words met Briaka in a slide of cold water seeping through her bones to her soul. Safe. 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 What does the mumity know that you don't know? There's no such thing, really, in reality, ever, anywhere in the known cosmos. Sad but true, people of Earth. But you create your own measure of safety by holding your line and staying in your own truth and your own body autonomy. And there's a certain hill that's worth dying on if the alternative keeps getting worse. But don't push that button. It's not wise to hover over the red button, people of Earth. Don't cross that line with me, motherfuckers. Too old, too tired, too sick of the bullshit to play your games. Some of you crave me like a drug too. What is it you crave? Your own lack of courage and decency. You'll have to come to that on your own terms, men and women of Earth. It's a battle you'll have to fight from within, choosing courage and decency. Some of us were born with it, some of us had to acquire it like a fine, matured Scotch whiskey. It's probably Sir James Douglas that was clapping me from behind. Ancient Scottish warriors know something about acquiring courage and decency, honour amongst men and their women. Fought for, died for, lived for, rebirthed and rebirthed in every incarnation. Until we fucking get it right, dear goddess. The river washed her face, and she wanted to weep and could not. As far as she could remember, She had not wept since the Roman procurator had first ridden into the steading with his veterans at his back. From the distant place that was the land, Earmid said, the message was sent from among the northern Ordovices. They're taking Ordovices, I don't know. I'm making it up as I go along, the pronunciation. You understand? It's like sex or the dance. Sometimes you've just got to flow with it and step to the right, step to the left, wriggle, jiggle, sigh, carry on as if you were the only one who could hear the music from the very beginning of time. Fake it till you make it, but don't become a cardboard cutout and an artifice and a fake, empty, vapid, hollow man. Don't do that, people of Earth. Yuck. Show me a hollow man who expects me to breathe life into him, and I'll show you a bag of entrails and pus and vomit that isn't worth the spit out of my mouth. I'm done feeding atrophied, poisonous, vampiric, hollow men that can never be filled because they're always craving, and craven as well. Mamatu has spoken. The message was sent from among the southern Ordovices. They're taking grain south to where Gunevar's people, the Durotriges and the Dumnoni, have control of the land. The Second Legion has a fortress there, but they're under permanent siege and dare not step far beyond its walls. It is as safe as anywhere in Britannia for the Boadicea's daughter. Granny can take ship there for Mona if there's any point, or for Hibernia if Macalma has evacuated the island before she gets there. She was talking for the sound of her voice more than the words it contained, as Valerius had done through the days of the fever. Her voice was smoother than his, the quality of love quite different. Even so, it was not as it had been. After a while, when Briaca floated and said nothing, Earmid fell silent. The river whispered between them. Early bees danced to the catkins hanging over the water. The heron ceased to blink and uncurled its neck. Its beak shattered the surface fast as any sword thrust. The fish it speared was fat and brown and thrashed the water white before it died. The bird swallowed and became disfigured in the neck and then smooth again. It roused its feathers and blinked and rose from the water and was a spear against the clouds and then gone. Briaca rolled over until she lay face down in the river and stayed there until the cold made her cheeks stiff Surfacing, she swam to the edge and accepted Ermid's hand to lift her onto the bank. The air seemed hot after the chill water. She scrubbed herself dry with her tunic and slid it on. Her back was a mess of scabs. Some of them broke open as she moved, but the cold had taken away most of the pain, and the warm wind had not yet brought it back again. She sat against a tree and used the frayed end of a twig to clean the grime from beneath her fingernails. It was not possible to talk. Too much time had passed, with too little said for her to find the words. Some time later, into the cold quiet, Ermid said, "Should I name your fears aloud for you? Would it make them any less?" "No." Briaka studied her hands. Resentment made her chest tight. She had not expected intrusion from Ermid, of all people. She said, "I am a warrior who has lost her taste for war." Has to happen eventually, people of Earth. Naming it will not help, nor make it easier to bear. Her nails were clean. She laid the twig in a circle of sunlight bounded by shadow and turned so that for the first time she might see and be seen. Ermid was close. This is a long chapter by the gods. Oh well, on we go and on we go. It probably feels long because there were Mamatu segues which happen, you understand. I make no apologies for how my mind processes things and events and people that surround me or used to surround me. Ermid was close. She smelled of hawthorn smoke and lanolin, and beneath that, of herself. Side on, her face was strong in the river light, perfect, unscarred, and beautiful. And her lashes were wet. Briaka said, "What is it?" "Should I name my fears aloud for you?" Ermid smiled wryly. "Everything, nothing, war, Granny, you. You're gone and I don't know how to reach you. Naming that doesn't help it either." Feel the same about my daughters. Can't reach them. Blocked my number. I never had Jasmine's phone number to begin with, so there is that. They eviscerated me as if I was dead. I didn't deserve the way they've treated me, people of Earth. I really didn't. I firmly believe in my soul I did not deserve that. But naming it won't help me. There are many things I have not deserved in this life. Many, many, many. Briaka's hand lay quiet by the cleaning stick. She moved it just enough. After a moment, long, clever fingers intertwined with her own. A hand that knew every part of her better than she knew herself, eased the muscles on her shoulder, avoiding the worst of the scars. The voice that was the bedrock of her life was cracked, which was not something she had ever expected to hear. Through faster tears, Ermid said, "You are the Boadicea. You do what you are born to do. The rest of us support you as we may, which was what we were born to do. And we have failed. You are not healed." She had not expected this, was not ready for it. Boldly she said, "You've done everything you can, you and Valerius both. But it's not enough." Sometimes you have to accept in life that there is no healing going to ever manifest completely, that it's been worked at and teased and tweaked and wrestled with a million times before, but this is as good as you're ever going to get, ever going to be. And acceptance itself is a form of healing, people of Earth. Knowing there was nothing you could have done differently. The world is always going to be the way it is, external to your psychedelic dreaming and wishes and prayers and manifestations and aspirations and yearnings and hopes and cares. Free will, people of Earth. Everyone has to choose their own path, consciously and with free will. That's why I won't fight for people anymore. There's the door. Walk through it. Go if you wish to go. Come if you wish to come. But don't block the fucking door. Souls must come and go freely of their own time and inclination. With care, Briaka leaned back and put her shoulders to the tree. She untwined her fingers and used both hands to rub her face free of the anger that had moulded it. She was tired more than angry, and grief weighed at her for the loss of Granny, for the loss of the self she had been. Perhaps it's as much as can be done. I'm alive. I can wield a blade. I can ride now at the speed needed for battle. I can be present and can perhaps not die, at least while the war host grows, and until either it comes to recognize in Valerius the leader they need and want, or Kunamar grows into himself and shows the leadership he has within him. If one of these happens soon, it will be enough. Enough to let you die? She had not expected that either. A lone bee wove a random path through the catkins and came to settle near her knee. When it rose again, she said, I don't know. I want not to have to pretend to be what I was and am no longer. Perhaps death is the way to do that. She reached blindly for Eamid's hand and traced the lines on the palm with her thumb. Do you think death is an ending? That's not what the elders of Mona teach. For them the fish is gone, but only in this life and this world. In other times and other lives, it will be the heron, and the heron will be the fish, or both, or neither. You speak all the time with the elder grandmother who died on the day I left childhood. Would she say that death was an ending? She might say that there was a right time and that leaving early for self-pity was not the act of the woman she delivered to adulthood. Ouch. But a truism nevertheless. Briarca had not expected sharpness when she had set aside her own anger. There was a moment when it would have been possible to fall back to that again, to find escape into fury. She shook her head. Don't. I don't want to fight with you. We have little enough time together as it is. We're not together. I can't reach you. I don't know how. Then perhaps I should try to reach you. They were still too far apart. Briarca took hold of Eamid's fingers and turning found that she was neither as stiff nor as sore as she had thought. After a while she turned again and lay down with her head cushioned on Eamid's knee, so that it was possible to look up at her without straining her neck. She had forgotten what it was simply to lie together in peace, without need or pressing urgencies. Eamid's fingers combed her hair dry. Eamid's pulse beat under her ear. Above, Eamid's necklace of silvered frog bones sparked against Eamid's skin. Silvered frog bones. Interesting. It had been broken in two places by the procurator's men. Someone with skill had mended it. Briarca traced the line with her finger, and then the skin beneath, and thought, but did not say, how much easier it was to heal silver than flesh and bone and the soul beneath. But then silver had no soul, and was destined forever to be silver, when flesh and blood were long gone, and the soul had moved on to other things. I disagree. When I melt silver, I get a sense of its soul beneath, in its molten stage, bubbling and coagulating. It has a soul. Mamati has spoken. After a while, thoughtfully, she said, If we go into this war fearing death, death will come seeking us. That's always the way in battle. If we die early, the war will fail, and generations after us will live under Roman rule, cursing our names. If we succeed, we'll die anyway in time. I would rather go to Briga, leaving the land free behind me, if I have the ability to choose. I'm not sure that I do, and I've never been unsure before. That's more terrifying than anything. She stopped then because it was more than she had meant to say, more than she had thought since the moment of waking from the fever. They're calling you, he says. He says. The male spirit says. Who's calling me, spirit? Stop with your nonsense. Please go back to the light. You're interrupting my story with nonsense. She stopped then because it was more than she had meant to say. Oh, I've read that. I'll just repeat it again. More than she had thought since the moment of waking from the fever. We're calling you to account. What does that even mean? It's craziness. Little old lady alone on Boxing Day in Housing Commission in poverty, alienated by people she thought loved her. Fuck off. I mean, you have to laugh. The spirits are at me and at me and at me and at me. Just leave me alone. You want me alone, leave me alone. You got what you wanted. Rejoice in your evil. Fuck off. Ermid's hands lay loose in her lap. She looked down at them, at the broken, reddened skin with white ingrained in the creases from making an ointment or a paste. She said, I think you are living now as everyone else has lived, knowing your own mortality. Can you fight like that and keep living? I don't know. I can try. There was more peace in that uncertainty than there had been. The day was quiet, and the spring sun shone for them, and the world was not yet openly at war. It was not the same as it had once been. But they sat and then lay together at the river's edge, and for a while each found solace and some healing of grief in the other. Later, nearer to dusk, Briaka went in search of her brother. She followed the drifting smoke and the sense of the cooking fires and the sound of almost battle, and found him in the centre of the horse fairs clearing, surrounded by youths in their dozens, possibly hundreds, armed with sword blades, shields and spears. There were fewer of them than there had been. Each day more learned who he was and what he had been, and left him to train with Kunamar or Ardakos, or any of the other spear leaders with experience of war. Those who had not heard or were able to see beyond the past stood in rows, blade against blade, spear against blade, blade against spear, and clashed with muted enthusiasm, while Valerius watched and encouraged and tried to keep them from injury. Seeing Briaca, he gave his place to Sigvar and stepped to the side. His eyes probed her much as Ermid's had done. He said, "You have news of Granny?" And Briaca was not certain if she should be grateful that he could read her so well, or disappointed that she was so open to be read. Dubornos sent word with a salt trader. She's alive and safe. Even now the newness of that had not yet worn off. She looked past him to where a half line of young warriors had stepped back on Sigvar's order and were resetting their shields on their arms. She said, "Are they safe yet?" It's very odd. Okay. This same car drove into my neighbour's driveway, drove off and then just drove back, but this time the neighbours come out, so don't know what that's about, people of Earth. It's not my monkey, not my circus though, but they must have thought that he wasn't home the first time. Odd. Anyway. He laughed shortly, shaking his head. They might handle a siege if they could persuade them to listen to us. But for a full-out attack against the veterans of the 20th, fighting through the streets of Camulodunum, no, they would be butchered where they stood. But they're better than yesterday, and tomorrow will be better than today. It's the best we can hope for, although we have a new problem. He pulled a wry face. Most of them were born in the years after the invasion, and they all have the same name. I shout at once, and 100 step forward. He was eyeing her sideways in a way that she knew. Warily she asked, "Briaca?" "Indeed, and the boys, of course, are all Caradoc." Slightly under 3 dozen at the last count, but not only you two. There are 13 matches, upwards of a dozen Sigvars, and at least 5 named after Ardakos, although they say it differently here, which makes it marginally less confusing. It's still a nightmare if we hold a mock battle, and will be fatal in the real thing. What are you going to do? Sigvar has asked them all to pick a new name. They're going to hold a ceremony later at the rise of the moon. Each of them has to choose something distinct that sounds different. We had better delay the assault then. You could be here for days arguing. Do you need to be part of it? Valerius ran a hand through his hair. That would be unwise. Most of them still spit against the wind or make the sign to ward off evil when I pass. They listen to what I say if I give them a good enough reason. But it would be fair to say they are not yet given to me heart and soul, as they would need to be to let me name them. He was hurt by that. She knew him well enough to see it. She said, "They'll learn when they see who can best keep them alive." And then, because there was no avoiding it, and she had already delayed too long, "When were you last inside Camulodunum?" Valerius's face froze. His lips made a fine, white line. A great many memories passed between them, a few of them good. Bleakly he said, "I was there about a month before Caradoc's capture. I imagine it will have been some time around Granny's birth. 8 years then, nearly 9. It was not easy to meet his eye then, but necessary." She said, "I've been there more recently, but things will have changed. Wells will have been dug, walls built, the theatre and the temple completed. If we're to make a proper battle plan, somebody with an eye for strategy really should go in and look before we attack. And there needs to be a better reason than that. Men have been assaulting cities they half knew for 1,000 years without the need to go into them first. And I want to talk to Theophilus to see if he can be persuaded to leave before the fighting starts. His apprentices came with the last wagon load of refugees, but he's wedded to his hospital and thinks he can't leave. He sent us warning of the procurator's coming. Without him we'd have lost the full war host. The Iceni have never abandoned their friends in times of war. I don't want to start now." He was beginning to read her as she could read him. The planes of his face softened. "Could you tolerate company, or must you go alone?" "Why else am I here?" Unexpectedly she found herself smiling. "I would welcome your company if it were offered." Thus concludes Part 2, Chapter 15. So I'll be back tomorrow or sometime in the space-time continuum to continue reading this rather intriguing story, People of Earth. Right, got that positioned right. I'm thinking I'll read Gerald Durrell's book for the next story when I finish this, although we're a long way from finishing, about all the animals. That might be a bit more of a happy subject for all of us. Mama T loves animals and birds, and I used to love those stories of how he interacted with them all. It was gorgeous. Anyway, have a beautiful Boxing Day wherever you are on planet Earth. Boxing Day was for the servants to get to celebrate Christmas a day later with their families after cooking and serving up a storm for their masters or their employers. That's what it was traditionally about. But for the Mama T, it's just another day. So bye for now. Goddess bless. Take good care, be of good cheer, and remember, as always, to never ever let the bastards grind you down in whatever form they might take. Blessed be from Sacred Space at Titania's Realm.